Hello, it's Ania from Ania Marta Art. Welcome. Today we're going to paint on this cast art watercolor paper, which has a lovely texture. It's not too rough. It has a nice smoothness. So first of all, we're going to use our different paint set today. I bought this one a long time ago, very inexpensive, and I wanted to see, is it really going to make a much difference if I use a decent paper and not so decent paint? So we're gonna have a test today. I have secured my paper. I just to add, I'm using my Lamy pen with waterproof ink inside. It is a little bit rigid, that one, but it gives you nice detail. So I have secured my paper into this board, and I am starting to ink now. So this paper is perfect because it is not too rough. It has quite a smoothness to it. So you can layer with pencils over and have a lovely texture. I'm just going over my sketch that I did earlier. It was a little bit boring to record that for you guys, so I thought I'm just gonna crack on, do my sketching first and then going with ink. So after the ink dries, I will erase out the pencil, so it will be nice and clean, everything clean. Just need to make sure that you wait long enough for this to dry, because you don't want to have a smudged ink, and you'll be surprised, it looks kind of dry but it is still wet. So sometimes I just make myself an extra cup of tea just to make sure that the ink is dry. So let me tell you more about this place. Emsworth is a little kind of town in Hampshire, UK. It's not too far from where I live, and I often go with my very good friend Helen. We go to our favorite coffee shop, which is called Driftwood Cafe. It has beautiful food, a lovely atmosphere. I love the decor, but that's not the cafe, so don't be fooled. This is opposite the cafe. I will paint the cafe one day, but this is the building that always caught my attention. It just has this lovely brickwork. It has gorgeous windows, which are striking blue. The actual image, the blue is a little bit more pale. I did struggle a little bit to find the right tone for that one, so that maybe is not so great with this paint. I know I could probably find the right tone, but you know, it is what it is. It is just a cheap set of paint, and you can definitely see the difference. Later on I'll be mixing colors, and it was much more difficult to get control, rather than my Schminke or Winsor & Newton. I much prefer these, but you know, it's possible. So what's important is the good quality paper. Once you get a good paper, you can then layer your paint, and it doesn't matter so much as the quality of paper, if that makes sense. So you can get away with cheaper set paint, but paper needs to be decent. I'm not talking about super expensive, but this cast art range is quite affordable. You got I often buy 50 pages, and I often cut those A4 pages half, so it gives me twice as much, because I don't like painting on this massive A4 size. A5 is just a nice size for me to do those illustrations. It's just a personal preference. You might be the person that loves the massive A3 size, and go for it if you do. It just happens to be that I prefer the smaller one. So what I'm doing now, I'm just going over that pencil. It's quite simple. I'm trying not to be too rigid, not to be too slow, just nice and quick, keeping that line loose. So it does give you that loose feeling. I will be experimenting in the next coming weeks with different amount of looseness, because I think what I like is give it a little bit more realistic shadows, but keeping the line still loose, even looser than that. That will be good. And then I can just try and test different methods. This still looks a bit cartoonish. I just cannot shake off this cartoon feel and look, but it's just the style I slowly develop, I think. So you'll see different urban sketchers for different people. Some people like to go into location and draw and paint right there, but you know, reality is I don't often have time just to go there and then and sit or stand and paint. It's just not practical. So what I tend to do is soak up the atmosphere, take a picture, take it with me, take it to my studio and sit and paint there. I might do like a urban sketch session one day and give it a go as an experience, but just, you know, in a practical way. Also, I wouldn't be able to film it. How would I film it on out there when reality is the British weather is rainy and windy? And since I came back from Italy, it's been raining non-stop. I'm having proper holiday blues. It's not helping that the weather is pants. So it might sound like a really nice romantic idea to go and draw where you go, but reality is, for me personally, it's just not practical. So I tend to do my drawing out of photographs, and that suits me at the moment. So for next few weeks, like I mentioned, I will try to push some things. I will maybe try color variation a little bit more, trying a little bit more setting darker, making darker points darker, like these windows. In this work I haven't done dark enough inside those black bits, but then it might lose its lightness and it's kind of, you know, cute feel. So sometimes what I do, I paint the same artwork twice or 3 times and see the result. It is a little bit demanding because you have to commit yourself and just, you know, draw the same thing over again and paint the same thing over again, but it's kind of developing the style practice. So you do commit yourself to do those exercises, and it might be not so much for pleasure painting, but it will really benefit you over a long time, over a long run. I still have some lessons to watch on Domestika. One of them is Urban Anna, and Anna has very neat style. So she's got all the brickwork she does, they look just perfection. Where I prefer to have a little bit of a messy look, a little bit of unfinished, mess. So making that super tight and super clean, it stresses me out a little bit, and I do like this kind of messy look a little bit more. The other lessons I have on Domestika is about sketch painting, sketch drawing in a sketchbook, so that might be interesting thing to do. And just picking up little techniques, little bits and bobs. The important thing is the way I layer here the medium. So I start with watercolor, of course, then I'm gonna let it dry. I'm just creating little clouds here with wiping off with the kitchen towel. And I prefer using a kitchen towel a bit on a cheaper spectrum, not because I'm cheap, it's because those more expensive ones, they just suck up too much of the water and they leave your marks. You often have some sort of pattern or marks and it looks very fake, where this one is more generic. So I prefer that one. So it's very easy to make a sky. I always kind of tend to do that the same way. So I prepared a mix here. I mix kind of orange and brown and red rather than going just for one color, because the variation will make it more interesting, a bit more rich. So just roughly putting color in, putting that wash. And I like to use now the larger kind of brush, which is giving a kind of looser feel. If you use too tight brush, it will give you a very, very constrained feel. Where I find that if you use that looser brush, bigger brush for larger areas, and then if you want to do detail, you can just use color pencils or even watercolor pencils, and then smudge it a little bit if you want that, marry both of them. So that's a nice way of doing that. You don't really have to do everything with watercolors or with a very, very, really, really tiny dinky brush. So that adds a little looseness as well. And just adding different variation here, going over those bricks. I'm not too bothered, just leaving the windows out, and yeah, just going over brick, because if you look at that wall, it is much darker, the picture. Obviously mine is a bit more of a red colors, but mine is supposed to be more cheerful, a little bit more like a illustration for a children's book, where the reality is a little bit darker, a bit gloomier, a bit more dense. So it's again your stylistic choice. Just mixing a little bit more of that, what I already had in my palette, blue, and adding white. That would work really nicely with gouache. I think if I redone that picture, what I would have done is create gouache mix just to tackle those window sills, those blue areas with like door and door frames, this blue, you know, just have it on point, just that yogurty blue. But I did it that way, and you know, there's no right or wrong, it's just what you like better. But I think it will give a bit more definition, a bit more yummy gouache look. And I just have to keep an eye how tight I'm going with that brush, because I don't want to go too tight and make it a bit too constrained. So nice and loose again. I also added a window, kind of window flowers on the bottom bit, because you have an artistic license and you can do whatever you like, really. Have you ever been to Emsworth? Have you ever been to Hampshire? Please let me know. Maybe it happens to be that you live in Emsworth. That will be exciting. I really like going to Emsworth from time to time because they have a lovely coastline. You can have a really beautiful walk, and they have a really nice ice cream shop just before you enter this coastline for walk. And it's really charming little town. It still has lots of history, a lot of character, and I would definitely be taking more photographs and painting them. So what I have in store, I have taken a lot of lovely pictures in Arundel. When I was photographing wedding recently, I went a little bit early and I had spare time, so I was running like a monkey, taking pictures of all the lovely buildings, all the outsides. So that's on the list. The other thing I have, like I mentioned earlier, I went for nice trip to Italy. I went to north of Italy and Switzerland, and we went to Lake Como area, all the little villages, which were the best, and also Milan. So I have so many beautiful photographs. I was carrying my big professional camera as well, so there are absolutely stunning pictures. I haven't edited them yet. I haven't finished editing, but oh my goodness, I'm just melting. I'm considering blowing up like a massive picture photograph and just hanging on the wall, because it's so relaxing, so pretty, especially those little villages. Like I said, I wasn't that blown away with Milan. Obviously the cathedral and the center, that was really special, but part of that, the city itself didn't really grab me. It was those tiny little places that you see by the Lake Como, and oh my goodness, how massive Lake Como is. I was just blown away. And how deep, over 400 meters deep. That was just something that really shocked me. So we had a wonderful time. I went with a group of friends, but I came back exhausted, absolutely shattered. I had extra few days in Poland as well, so altogether I was away for 2 weeks. So probably there was no videos adding at that time. Before I left for my holiday, I was quite regularly adding videos and getting in a full swing of editing and stuff, and then crash, everything just fall apart because I went away and I had no chance. But I thought I'm going to use that time just to gather inspiration and just be in different culture, different country, enjoying myself, getting energy back, which completely drained my energy, but never mind. I have loads of reference images, so many beautiful places and buildings and just landscapes. So I have a material for the rest of the year for sure. For sure. So have you been to Italy? Have you been visiting different areas? I've been to the north this time, but I've been to Rome, I've been to Sicily as well. But I would love to see the kind of south area or middle, like Sorrento, Amalfi Coast. They are quite commercial, quite well known. The other areas, there is just so many to see, so many places. So yeah, very always great experience to travel anywhere really. And there's still so many places in UK that I haven't seen. I only been to Wales just a tiny bit with my friend, and I haven't seen much of Wales. I haven't seen much of Scotland. I've only been to Edinburgh for a Zumba training class. I used to teach Zumba, believe me or not, and that was lovely. But that was just like a 2 days. One day my friend and I were visiting the city, but we haven't seen much other than that. So I would love to do a proper visiting of Scotland, and seeing all those rural, authentic places rather than just cities or very commercial places. What else is on my list? You might be surprised when I say, oh, I want to see those tiny little places. I would love to see New York. It's on my list. I know it's a real Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it. But I'm just fascinated how different it is. Different, that's the thing. And just see it live. It will be so exciting. Seeing those places, being there, experiencing. I would have to choose something that is not extreme summer or not extreme winter, something kind of springtime maybe, so it's bearable. So yeah, that's on my list, definitely. The other one is Japan, obviously. Massive fan of Ghibli studio and the Japanese culture and aesthetics. I don't like manga itself so much, but I loved all the rest. I wouldn't qualify Ghibli studio as pure manga style. So yeah, that's my idea so far, my kind of little bucket list, if you want to call that. But to be honest, I'm just looking forward to spend some time at home and doing some more paintings, doing some more experience, you know, doing lessons, learning stuff. I have so much to do on surface pattern design, so there's always something to do. Let me just tell you what I've done on this picture so far. So we put watercolor layer, then I added a little bit of pencils, color pencils or watercolor pencils, this mixture, and now I'm using Neocolor crayons, and they are number 2 Neocolors, obviously are water soluble, so I just used a little bit of water just to give that building a bit of a wash, so it's not stark white, it has a kind of creamy color. And with the pencils, I always like to give like a color variation. It just looks so nice when you add a little bit of punch here and there. I really like that effect, so I'll be carrying on with this one. And those little flowers, just a little accent. I just love how those window frames and door, how that go against that kind of reddish brickwork. That looks so nice. Adding a little bit of greenery there, just for interest. There is a little bit on the picture, but not as much. And just, you know, bits and bobs wherever I see that might benefit it. I'm just adding on. So I wonder how that would look with the really dark windows inside, like originally it's on the photograph. But I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want this to be contrasting, massive kind of point that UI is being drawn, because UI will be drawn to the most contrasting bit. So I was quite subtle with it. What I might try, I might take it on my computer, scan it, and then experiment in Photoshop and just add a little bit of kind of like, you know, crayons or paint or layer there and see how that would look without damaging the original work. Even though I'm not that precious about it, once I scan it and I clean it up, I'm not that bothered about this paper copy. I keep it because it's nice to look back, but you know, it's not going to be probably sold. The edges are ripped from this tape. I'm still looking for the right tape. I might invest into something like a low tack tape that is not going to completely damage the edges. But when I scan it and I take it to Photoshop, I crop it exactly to the image, and then I create like a fake wide borders which are completely clean and tidy and perfect. So it doesn't bother me too much. I could even not glue it to that board, paint it all over, scan it, and then create a fake borders. It's okay. It's just for my comfort, because once it's kind of connected with this tape to the board, it's easier for me. It doesn't slide around. It has a bit more grip. You know, it's just a comfort thing. So important thing that Neocolors come to the end, because they are kind of, if you don't use water on them, they're not going dissolve. They are quite waxy, so you cannot put your pencils over, you cannot put your kind of mark pens really on it, or ink. So here I'm just blending it with water a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a something there, so it doesn't look so stark. And again, you know, artistic license, there is a pole right next to that door. I didn't put it in. There's no need for it. It doesn't really benefit it. So I thought I'm just gonna keep it simple. And those window frames, I did softened up a little bit with that grey, and adding a little bit of grey of those little bricks, because if you look at the details, they have this intricate design where you have normal bricks, and also you have those little kind of grey blue bricks as well. Just softening up that blackness because it is quite stark, so making it softer. A little bit more shadows. I couldn't decide really how much I wanted. I think in the next few weeks I will be pushing the shadows a bit more, and we see how much I like having stronger shadows. I think I'll like it. I think it will be a nice combination of a very loose line, the loose kind of mark of the color, and then shadow is quite, when it comes quite realistic, it will be interesting combination. So adding those little shadows under the bricks, that is quite satisfying the way it looks, and to paint it as well, to draw it, that's quite nice process. Just softening up with that grey, adding on that colour just helps a little bit as well. It's just finding that balance. If you find something is too strong, just soften it up with either grey or white or just different colour, just to make it a little bit more kind of blurry, bit more not so strong. So just adding a little bit more colour variation. I know I said you can get home with a cheap paint as long as you have good quality paper. However, you know, there are limits. It's not, the pigment is not as rich and beautifully blending like my Schminke or Winsor & Newton. So there is definitely the difference, the way it behaves, but it's doable. It's like if you're just starting out and you want to see if it's even for you, that's really good option to have that cheaper paint and maybe more expensive paper, maybe like a decent level. That Cassart is not too bad price wise. That investment you can make and the rest could be more affordable. So we're just going to take that tape off. There's no need for that anymore. Voila. And this is the final painting. I hope you enjoy that. Please let me know what you would like to see in other videos if you enjoy that, if you have any comments at all. Until next time, bye.